For more on the Sugar Bowl, let's bring in Bobby Carpenter from 97.1 The Fan. Bobby, I think it's funny what Ryan Day said. After everything we've been through, we're right back to where we started. Your thoughts on the annual holiday tradition that is Clemson, Ohio State?
I think it's going to be an exciting game. This is going to be the matchup I think that everybody around the country is looking forward to. They're going to be excited about. If you look at the spread for Alabama and Notre Dame, it's much larger. This is going to be a tight one-score game, and hopefully the Buckeyes will be able to avenge last year's loss. They thoroughly controlled that game for about three and a half quarters, came up just a little shy in the end with the miscommunication between Justin Fields and Chris Olave. They didn't necessarily have some of the breaks go their way down the stretch, whether it was, the Shaun Wade targeting, the Jeffrey Okudah fumble that was caused that wasn't, or potentially not being able to get it done a couple times in the red zone. So they've got to find a way to get some of those things to break for them this time. They're going to have to play better on defense than they played this year, but they have the skill, they have the talent, Dave, to be able to avenge, not only this loss, but you can go back to 2016, you can go back to early in Urban Meyer's tenure, I believe 2013. Like, this Clemson team has really been the bane of the Buckeyes' existence here since the turn of the century.
We in the media love coming up with these storylines, and the revenge one plays better than any, but you actually played the game, Bobby. Is there something to a chip on the shoulder storyline? Is that a real thing that's used in a game like this?
I think it is because, if you look at the college football, it's been Clemson and it's been Alabama the last 4 or 5 years. And, Clemson battled their way, credit Dabo Swinney, to building a program, them battling their way to the top, to finally being one of the elite programs. And Ohio State considers themselves there. And I think a lot of people nationally consider them there talent-wise. And yes, they won the national championship in 2014. But as of late, they've gotten close, but they haven't been able to get over the hump. And so I think that there's a lot of this. The reason why, Wyatt Davis came back, a Shaun Wade came back, why Justin Fields never wavered in coming back and potentially opting out, is because I think these guys want to write the final chapter to their Buckeye story, and they want to do it in a way that puts them at the top of the mountain with the elite teams. And it really couldn't have shaken out any better. You got a coach that's been talking trash about them, that beat them last year, a talented team. You're going to have two of the best quarterbacks in college football going against each other. You have a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. Like, this really shapes up to be one heck of a battle.
Yeah, let's talk about Dabo Swinney. He is all shucks Andy Griffith, but then he's voting the Buckeyes number 11 in the coaches poll. Okay, we're not even going to defend that. So what do you think of him voting 11th for Ohio State? Does that factor in? I know it's tacked up somewhere in the Woody Hayes right now, but does that matter at all?
I don't know if it matters come kickoff. Preparation stops when the foot hits the ball. That's Urban Meyer saying, and it's, when the time to play has come, the time to prepare is past. Like, that's all these old cliches you can use, but they've got 2 weeks. And when you talk about everything these guys have given up, everything they've sacrificed, you've got 2 more weeks now to dig in, because talent is pretty even. So it's going to come down to execution. And execution is going to come down to how well do you know your opponent? How well do you know what you're doing? That's going to go into film study, execution, technique, focus, discipline. All of those things can be worked on this week during the Christmas time, when you want to be with your families and you want to be able to relax. You want to be able to have, spend some time with your friends and family. But this year, it's not it. You've got to lock in. If these guys want to do it, that's where this is going to make a difference this week and early next week. Because come Thursday, next week, the hay's in the barn. The game's going to be there. So, Dave, it doesn't make a difference during the game, but it's going to, I think, make a massive difference leading up to the game. I look back, when Ohio State upset Bama, when they upset Oregon, listening to Urban and listening to those guys talk around the facility, like, that was all that mattered. The fact that they're, 2 touchdown underdogs essentially to Alabama, and then, whatever it was, eliminate 16 seconds with Oregon snapping the ball, and then going back to 2002, a team that I was on, and beating the Miami Hurricanes, 13.5-point underdogs. Like, that's all we thought about. And because that's all you think about, that's all you're preparing for. And it wasn't like you had an extra edge in the game. The edge came from the preparation that, we put in an extra hour a day. And over the course of 10 days, that's an extra 10 hours. And hopefully that makes a difference.
In Dabo Swinney's case, why the Buckeyes don't belong, I do get it. Okay, the 6 games, he says they're fresher. It's not fair. They're not as beat up. And that's true for sure. But, Bobby, on the flip side, the Buckeyes don't look like the most crisp, well-oiled team because they've only played 6 games. I think it's just as much a negative as a positive.
It depends on what type of team you have. If you have a veteran team, I think less games is better for you because you don't necessarily need all that timing. But if you look at this defense, they're young. They lost a lot of talent last year to the NFL draft. The secondary, especially, has needed these reps. And so they played pretty well against Northwestern. I think a lot of it was a talent disparity. These young guys are going to have to grow up quick. Usually, by this point in time, those sophomores, you feel good about them. Those juniors, you feel great, even if they're first-year starters because they have a whole season under their belt. Not the case this year. And so that's a detriment. It can cut both ways. I don't know if the receivers, Justin Fields, and the offense really need a whole lot of time to get tuned up when everybody's healthy and ready to go. But defensively, I do think more games would have been a benefit to this Buckeye defense.
And everyone in Columbus knows Ohio State has the talent to match up 11-11 on Clemson. The issue is the execution because we haven't seen it for 4 quarters. We've seen it great halves, Bobby. Do you think they could put 4 of those quarters consecutively together against Clemson?
It's going to be the question. I think they can. I think Ryan Day is the guy to lead them. I think Kerry Holmes will get them straightened out. Sometimes it's just going to be feeling it out. And, Ryan Day loves to throw the football. We saw in the Big Ten championship, I think everybody was just saying, listen, man, lean on Trey, lean on that offensive line. And I think that may have been the best thing that happened is they had a legit struggle where they had to redetermine their identity during a game. It's a defensive battle. We're going to lean on our running game. We're going to pound the football. We don't have Olave, some of the things through the air. Northwestern's not going to give us the big play. Like, those are the things, Dave, where playing more games helps you because you figure out other ways to win. So as uncomfortable as that was for everybody to experience watching and to coach and playing, I do think that it ultimately became a benefit because I think this Buckeye team found out a little bit about themselves on Saturday in Indianapolis, and hopefully that carries over then down into New Orleans.